This month we're going to talk about fatigue and impairment. So what is fatigue? Fatigue is a feeling of tiredness and exhaustion, both physically and mentally, caused by exertion. And fatigue is more than just feeling tired and drowsy. I mean, it can feel like you just can't go another step. You can't do another thing. You're just so worn out. Not enough sleep or quality of sleep are two most common causes of fatigue. Not getting enough sleep or having poor sleep can disrupt our natural 24-hour sleep cycle. Our internal body clock is what operates our 24-hour sleep cycle. Our body clock is what makes us want to sleep at night and be awake during the day, and it can be difficult to get good quality sleep during the day when our bodies naturally want to be awake. 63% of Americans reported that their sleep needs are not being met during the week. Falling behind on the amount of sleep that your body needs can cause issues at work, it can lead to accidents, and it can also impair judgment. There are other things besides not getting enough sleep that can cause fatigue. So if you're doing a mentally or physically challenging job, that could cause some fatigue issues. If you're doing something strenuous, a complex project or something that you're working on, something that's repetitive that you're doing, something that's boring that you're doing, those are all things that could cause some fatigue. There's also environmental factors that could cause fatigue. Temperature, humidity, noise level, if there's a bright light, vibration, those are all things that can cause fatigue. So in this picture there's a guy jackhammering, so there's a lot of elements that could be causing him fatigue. If he's in if it's a hot day in the middle of the summer, you've got temperature. If it's a cold day, in the middle of the winter, that's another thing. Humidity, if it's hot, there's probably humidity going on. There's a noise level with that jackhammer. There's also vibration going on using the jackhammer, and it's a repetitive action, and it's probably a pretty strenuous action too. So at the end of the day, this guy is probably going to be really fatigued. Fatigue can also cause problems with memory and recall, decision making, information processing, concentration, complex planning, alertness and attentiveness, and it can cause you to not communicate effectively, and it can also slow your reaction time. So here's a few signs and symptoms of fatigue that you might look for: constant yawning, falling asleep at work, short-term memory problems, difficulty concentrating, difficulty engaging in effective communication, impaired decision-making and judgment, and reduced hand-eye coordination or slow reflexes. Fatigue can result in lack of alertness, increasing the risk of accidents or injury, even more so for people who operate machinery, work at heights, work with flammable or explosive substances, carry out hazardous work such as electrical work, and drive a road vehicle. Every workplace has hazards that can cause harm. Fatigue is just going to increase the potential for this harm. Research indicates that the number of hours awake can be compared to blood alcohol levels in terms of causing impairment. I thought this was pretty interesting. So 17 hours awake is equivalent to having a blood alcohol level of 0.05, and 21 hours awake is equivalent to a blood alcohol level of 0.08, and 24 hours awake is equivalent to having a blood alcohol level of 0.10. Stress can also cause us fatigue. The American Institute of Stress lists the main causes of stress as workload, people issues, juggling work and personal lives, job security, with workload having that highest percentage. So if something is causing you stress, either at home or on the job, it can affect your focus at work and potentially make you less safe. So what is stress? Stress can be defined as any type of change that causes physical, emotional, or psychological strain. Stress is our body's response to anything that requires attention or action. So when a person experiences stress, the body is preparing for defensive action. The nervous system triggers the release of hormones that sharpen our senses, quicken the pulse, deepen respiration, and cause our muscles to tense. When stress begins to accumulate from negative or challenging events that might be in your life, and they just keep on coming, you can find yourself in a state of feeling emotionally worn out and drained. This is called emotional exhaustion. For most people, emotional exhaustion tends to slowly build up over time. There are several ways to help people cope with stress. You can exercise regularly and eat healthy, balanced meals, talk to someone about your stress, practicing deep breathing or meditation, make time to unwind each day, get involved in some hobbies that you enjoy, and take breaks from news and social media. What is impairment? Impairment can refer to a variety of conditions and/or substances that impact a person's normal ability to work safely. Impairment can come from fatigue, stress, illness, or the use of alcohol, illicit drugs, or prescribed and over-the-counter medication. What does impairment look like? Well, it can be different from one person to another, but here are some general red flags to look for. Calling in sick frequently, repeatedly arriving late for work, erratic behavior, increased conflicts, overreaction, and non-compliance with policies, changes in work quality, sloppy or incorrect work, doing enough work to just get by, errors in judgment, deterioration in performance, reduced productivity, moving to a position where there is less visibility or supervision, forgetfulness, or the smell of alcohol or drugs, red eyes, or slurred speech. Impairment is often a hidden risk that prevents someone at being at their best and able to perform safely. Impairment, regardless of the cause, could create a worksite health and safety hazard. I have some interesting facts you never knew about sleep. So 1 in 3 Americans don't get enough sleep. That's probably no surprise. And 35% of interviewed Americans, which that's around 440,000, said they usually got less than 7 hours of sleep a night. 80% of those Americans agreed that a lack of sleep caused difficulty concentrating and increased stress. And 29% of those Americans strongly agree that lack of sleep contributes to memory loss. And here we have some sleep patterns of prominent people. So we have some ancient inventors like Alexander Graham Bell, Nikola Tesla, and Thomas Edison. They get around 2 to 6 hours of sleep a night. We have 2 former presidents and a former prime minister, and they seem to get around 3 to 6 hours of sleep a night. We have a few CEOs of Pepsi, Yahoo, and Martha Stewart, and they get around 4 to 6 hours of sleep a night. And we have a founder of Amazon and co-founder of Microsoft. They seem to get the most sleep with 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. So how often do Americans nap? Well, more than 1/2 of the U.S. population has taken a nap within the past 7 days. And the frequency of napping suggests that a large number of Americans may need more sleep. That's probably no surprise to anyone. So what do people say about sleep? Well, 58% of employees feel they don't get enough sleep. 61% say the lack of sleep has negatively impacted their work. And 43% of employees have caught someone sleeping at work. 1 in 5 people have called in sick to catch up on sleep. There's also environmental factors that can disrupt our sleep, like temperature, light, some kind of inside noise like snoring, talking, outside noise, maybe horns honking, sirens going by. And 90% of Americans agree that a comfortable mattress is important for good sleep, but only about 47% of those Americans actually have a comfortable mattress. How much sleep do we really need? I found a chart that shows some different ages and what kind of sleep that we need. So newborns need the most sleep with 14 to 17 hours, where an adult that's 18 to over 65 is only going to need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you have any questions or comments, you can stop by the lab building and talk to me, and I will try to answer them, or you can call me at extension 104.